Hello again. I'm here with another three books to review. This time, I have The Town by Bentley Little and two books by Jean Jensen, House of Illusions and Vampire Child. Now, I hate this cover. I just want to warn everybody, this cover is horrible. I really dislike this this cover for this book. The book is way better than the cover. Cover makes it look like it's some kind of, sexy vampire thing, and really isn't. Um, but that is the cover for this book that they released. Now, first off, who is Jean Jensen? Jean Jensen, an author of 30 published novels and 4 not yet published novels, and 200 short stories. She's basically an author from... Here you go. After publishing several short stories, her first novel was published in 1974. She became a professional author following literary agents from New York and sold 30 novels to several publishing houses. For many years, she was involved with the creative writing groups and took the reply to fan mail. But basically, her claim to fame, Jean Jensen, is she wrote a lot of zebra horror fiction. A lot of horror fiction in the 80s and 90s and 70s. That was what people would call paperbacks from hell because of Grady Hendrix. So she passed away, but she has a whole body of work. Not all of her books were horror novels. Some of them were, I believe, romance novels and some gothic stories as well in her early career. But they are releasing all of her horror novels currently. So they are releasing these 20 zebra books. So all of the 20 zebra books from Zebra Horror will be released by the end of this month. And then the 10 other books that she wrote will be released. And then there's also 4 unpublished books that will be released as well. So if you are a fan of Jean Jensen, if you become a fan, know that all of her books will be released. Reading these 2 books, I can tell you that I do want to read more. And I am looking forward to reading more Jean Jensen. There is a booktuber who subscribes to me. I believe it was Mindy. I think it's Mindy who has a lot of these books in her book hauls. So it was nice when I saw these books on Scribd. I said, let me pick them up. House of Illusions actually has this fancy like chromium type of holographic cover. So this isn't the original cover for House of Illusions. I don't know if this cover is the original cover. I did see another cover for this book that isn't great either, but it's better than this. But I will deal with Vampire's Child first, because that's what you really wanted to get to, is the actual reviews. So let's try to skip some of these brand of horror in the 80s and 90s that I told you about. Let's see. Trailblazer for women authors. And Vampire Child is suited for both young and older adults. I would say so. It's kind of... The vampire is a younger vampire. It is a teenage vampire. But let's read what this says. It was published in 1990 originally. It was the 12th of the 20 Jean books published by Zebra. 3 years ago, a horrible death has led to the flight to hiding halfway across the country, and now her son Patty has come home. No longer a charming, likable kid, but a foul creature of the dark, a hideous fiend prowling the shadows for helpless human victims to satisfy his horrifying, insatiable thirst. Okay, so this Vampire Child is basically, as I read here, Patty, who goes by Patrick when he's talking about himself in the vampire term. He's basically kind of like a split. He's like, oh well, Patty and Patrick kind of have a little bit of a internal strife with the vampire nature of him, trying to take over. His family basically ran away, and he comes and attacks their youngest child, the baby child, and the mother comes, and then when she sees that he's attacked the child, she attacks him. And at this point, I guess the police get involved, and she actually has another daughter who was watching the kids, but didn't watch the kid when this happened. Long story short, they take the mother and put her away for trying to kill her kid, because no one's going to believe that the kid is a vampire. So they take the mother away because they believe that she was trying to kill a kid, and he gets out. He gets out to the point where he actually goes to, I guess, like a boys' town type of thing. It reminds me of the what was it, the fifth Friday the 13th movie, where they had like that little rehab thing where they went to. It definitely had flavors of that, where this vampire kid basically goes to this camp, and obviously horror ensues. So you can tell right away that this doesn't follow the same rules that a regular vampire story follows, because obviously if they're going to a camp, he's not out at night. There's no burning in the sunlight. There's none of that kind of stuff. They don't talk about mirrors and not being able to see himself in his reflection or anything like that. It's basically about this kid Patty in the camp, and then the people around him, and somebody else who follows him and finds out what's going on. And then later on, there is another confrontation with his mother and I forgot the woman's name, who was the Babette, I think it was, something like that. His sister. There's a confrontation at the end. In general, it isn't. I didn't enjoy it completely, but I did find it like just an average, good vampire story. It wasn't great, wasn't bad, but it was average. And I mean, if you're a fan of Ruby Jean Jensen, obviously, I think you should read it. It's a vampire story, and I did like the way they used him as a vampire. I thought some of the imagery they used, especially kind of like he is basically a big bat at times, I did enjoy. But it was not as good as House of Illusions. House of Illusions was a really good book. Let me read what this one was. Let's see. Originally published in 1988, House of Illusions follows sisters Amy and Jody as their lives suddenly change. Amy and Jody hardly remember their father, who lived and worked in a carnival, but now they were going to live with him. Their lives were soon disrupted by two mysterious murders that were somehow related to the history of the House of Illusions. And again, I was talking about the cover here. The original cover claimed it was the first ever full cover horror hologram. Fancy covers. I've seen people take pictures of it. It does look kind of cool. But this story, I honestly really liked. First off, it's these kids basically have to go live with their father, who runs with the carnival. Now, I always find carnivals kind of creepy. This definitely has shades of like, the Funhouse from Dean Koontz. It definitely has shades of like, okay, here's this creepy carnival. There's a house of mirrors. So there's the creepy mirror house, and there are clowns. So there are creepy clowns, creepy carnival, house of mirrors. What else do you need to know? It's really good. It is even bittersweet to a degree. This isn't a story that actually pulls punches. Not everybody gets out unscathed in the end of this book. And I guess Ruby Jean does have, I think, a history of pretty much putting kids in danger. So she that is kind of one of her tropes. Besides the vampire book I just read and this one, they both have kids in danger kind of stories. And yeah, I really did enjoy this book. I found it refreshing. I found it, it's definitely 80s. Yeah, I could read this book. I'm like, okay, I could see this book was written in the 80s. So it's definitely an 80s type of book. And yeah, after reading both of these books, after reading Vampire Child and House of Illusion, I will definitely be putting Ruby Jean Jensen on my radar and looking for more of her books to read. So those are my reviews of House of Illusions and Vampire Child. And of course, no book review is going to go without me doing a Bentley Little book. Because I do have a lot of Bentley Littles I have to cover. So, the third book here that I'm going to cover is Bentley Little's The Town. So, let's read what this is. Welcome to McWayne, Arizona. Population 200, 189, 188. Get the idea. Gregory Tomaskov has returned with his family to the quaint Arizona community of Duluth. In McGuane, the air is clean, the land is unspoiled, nothing has changed except now one goes out. No one goes out after dark, and no one told Gregory that he shouldn't have moved into the old abandoned farm at the edge of town. Once upon a time, something bad happened there, something that's now buried in its walls, something now reborn in the nightmare of Gregory's young son, something about to be unleashed. Okay. I enjoyed this book. The town basically, this doesn't tell you, to me, a good synopsis here of the story. There is a religious component that he is, I guess, a Russian Christian. I'm not sure what they call them. Yeah, I forgot the actual name of the actual group that he was belonged to. It was basically kind of like a Russian Christian Orthodox type of group. So they have some weird rituals. When he comes to a new house, his mother comes with him, and there's a ritual where you're supposed to basically invite. I don't know if it's a spirit. It's kind of like a little, kind of gnomish type of creature that you have to invite this creature to the owner. They call it the owner of the house. Invites the creature to protect the family and protect the house, and that's kind of where the story goes. That, and there is this really creepy bathhouse on the property that you find out, has this evil entity. And the evil entity that grows and messes with the town and messes with Gregory. Again, this is one of those Bentley Little books that, not everything comes out okay at the end. There is some sad things that happen in this book. But in the end, it's a pretty good Bentley Little book. I wouldn't classify it as one of my top. Bentley Little is definitely not up there, but it is definitely a doable Bentley Little. I definitely think it is worth reading as a Bentley Little book. And all in all, I was happy I read it. Again, not one of my top Bentley Littles. I definitely have other books I think are top. I do like some of the story with this. It does kind of go a little bit into the past. I did like the religious element of it, about this, this religious Orthodox type of upbringing that he had, and how he has kind of like a split with his mother, and he's trying to be more towards the modern era, and the kids having to deal with it, and also his wife supposedly was someone in this religion as well, and how trying to get back to her roots in this religion. I thought it was very well done, honestly, in that respect. Just again, it's not one of my top Bentley Littles, just an average style Bentley Little book. But again, something I really liked. So those are my reviews for the two Ruby Jean Jensen books, and the Town book. Thanks again to Mindy for putting me on to Ruby Jean Jensen. I definitely will be reading more of her stuff. And again, I will definitely be reading more Bentley Little as well. If you've sat through all of this blabbering stuff, thanks again for watching, and I do hope to see you soon. So, goodbye.